Over the past few years, I've spent a lot of time reading books and blogs that could possibly help me get more things done. But then I realized that the reason why I wasn't getting things done is that I spent more time researching the methods rather than actually doing things. I didn't have my priorities right. But while researching, I came across a method of prioritizing which I've adopted into my work for a number of years now. In this video, I want to talk about how to prioritize your tasks to make you more productive and not just busy. In one of my previous videos on how to make more time, I spoke about using a to-do list as a way of managing your time better and in turn get more out of your day. I'll leave a link to that video below if you want to check it out. So today I want to take that further and talk about how to be more efficient with your time by filtering your long to-do list that you may have. See, when you've got a super long to-do list, you may fall into this trap of just looking busy. But busy doesn't necessarily mean productive. You may have already heard of the 4 Ds for getting things done, which are do, defer, delegate, or drop. So let's dive deeper into what that's all about and stick around till the end. I'll show you a really awesome tool you can use for keeping your tasks organized. When I'm working on something, I regularly try and ask myself this simple question, and you should probably do as well. The question is, am I being effective or just being busy? Basically, is what I'm doing right now really important? So to answer that question, I ask more questions with the aim to filter my work into the right category. The first of those is, should I do this? And if not, can I defer it and do it another time? Maybe I could actually even delegate that and perhaps just even drop it. And I try and do this for every task that I have to add to my to-do list. The way I'm going to approach the 4 Ds is in reverse order, well, depending on how you look at it, starting with drop. I think the first thing to do when filtering your work is start by thinking about the things you shouldn't do. There's a famous quote by Steve Jobs that goes, deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. It's obvious, right? When you choose not to do something, you open up time for doing something else that's more important. You have to be harsh with this step. Drop those things that you don't need to be doing, the distractions. And this can be hard, I know, but it's very important. An example for me is when I'm going through my emails, I start by deleting many of those which I know are a waste of time, like the newsletters I don't even remember subscribing to, but somehow they seem to appear in my inbox like magic. So I do this to condense my inbox to just those important emails as a start. If you've ever tried to start a business or are running one now, you may know how at the beginning, business owners want to do everything themselves. However, this is problematic if you're trying to do something you're not necessarily skilled at. Wouldn't it be better for you to pay someone else to build a website for you, for example, in a fraction of the time while you focus on the more important business needs? Knowing how to delegate effectively is easier said than done. You have to learn to say no. Someone else can do this better and quicker than me. I once worked with a fairly young company, which I'll not disclose the name of for obvious reasons. It always surprised me when the managing director of the company would do the graphic designs for the websites, for the posters, the ads, etc. At that time, the company, from my understanding, wasn't as profitable as it used to be. So in my opinion, that's when the managing director should have been focusing on the business functions and increasing profits or whatever, while someone else handled the graphics. Like me, I did graphics. I found myself in a similar position working on an app business, trying to code while also doing the designs of the app while also run the business. Just not sustainable. Delegating doesn't apply to just skilled work only. It's other things as well that you know will take up a lot of your time. Things like cooking and cleaning. And if you can afford to pay someone else to cook and clean for you, I think do that. It's crazy the number of times I've put something to the side and then when I look at it later, it would have become obsolete, no longer required. So, which goes to show that some of the work that we choose to pick and do is not necessary. The example I gave earlier of handling emails, I do the same for deferring. After I've deleted the emails that are not important, I put the rest of the emails in a folder I've named Read Later and only leaving behind the important emails that need my attention right away, right there and then. And also deferring some things may help you gather your thoughts. For example, if you have to make an important decision, if you left that decision-making process for a later time, you may find that you have a different point of view. And you know that phrase that goes, sleep on it? apart from the fact that sleep does actually help you clear your mind, organize your memories, and process the information of the day, I think deferring something works in a similar way. But most importantly, not doing certain things now opens up time for you to do the things that require your immediate attention. After you've dropped, delegated, and deferred, now it's time to do. Putting the first things first is one of the habits of highly effective people. When something is urgent and important, do it immediately. But if you've come to this point of organizing your work and you're still overwhelmed with a dozen other things that seem to be urgent, assuming they're also important as well, it may help some time to pick up those quick wins amongst the urgent stuff. Things you can do in a few minutes just to get that momentum going. It could be that quick email to your customer, client, or your lecturer that only takes about 5 minutes for a start before moving on to the bigger jobs. For now, you've taken away the disruptions and separated the wheat from the chaff, so to say. Now focus. Close the unnecessary web pages, no social media, no phones, no multitasking. Yeah, no multitasking. Multitasking is a myth. And don't even get me started on that. A great tool I use for task management is Trello. If you've never heard of Trello, it's a Kanban style list making app. It's powerful. Check it out. And best of all, it's free. I'll leave a link to it below. In my opinion, it's the best task manager app. On Trello, I use the 4 Ds we've spoken about along with the Eisenhower matrix. This is how the matrix looks like, divided into 4 quadrants. So you've got the do quadrant, which is the things that are important and urgent. So for example, your room is on fire, or you've got fast approaching deadlines for your assignments. Then you've got the box for delegating. These are the things that are not important but are urgent. For example, things like cleaning and cooking and some meetings. The defer box are the things that you probably need to schedule. So these are things that are important but not necessarily urgent. So things like exercising, writing, or reading your lecture notes. There are things that are not necessarily urgent now but have long-term benefits. Then you've got drop. These are things that can wait. Things like watching TV or social media. That's the method I use for prioritizing my work. How do you go about prioritizing your tasks? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to know how to manage your time better and more effectively, check out my previous video. I'll leave a link to that below.